We're working this morning on our drip setup. I got this partially done. I'm working on putting this together this morning. This piece here, this is our drip irrigation. We're going to be putting this in our beds. Hopefully I'm going to get one done. And if everything works properly, we'll be putting this setup in all of our raised beds back here in the back for irrigation. The drip will make it easier to do the irrigation back there. I'm going to show y'all. This is what this will look like. It'll be in the bed out there, turning this direction. This piece down here at the bottom, right now out there in our raised beds, there's a piece of pipe, 1-inch pipe coming up, and it's got an elbow on it. I'm going to grab the piece that hooks into the elbow so I can show you I'll lay that piece there. Oh, I left it out here.
Thank you.
The way our system is currently set up out there, there's a elbow sticking up out of the ground. It's a threaded elbow. This piece goes into it. And then our sprinkler system hooks on with black poly pipe right here where this piece is here. I'm going to be cutting the elbow that's out there off. Then I'm going to glue this piece here. This piece will get glued on in place of the elbow, and this will screw into that. And that'll give us a place to hook up our sprinklers that we currently have out there. Will run off of this valve. I got to get a different size piece, but this piece won't thread into this. I got to use the smaller valve. I get the correct size piece that'll thread into here, and that'll hook up the sprinklers we currently have. They'll run off of this valve. And then the top setup up here runs off the top valve. This is our drip irrigation we're going to be putting in out there. This is not exactly what will be out there. I kind of set this up. I had some old pieces of pipe that I kind of used to judge how long I wanted to cut everything, but I got it set up. This is what it'll look like out there, so I'm starting to put it together. So I got to put some pieces together. This piece, this is our filter and regulator assembly. This is a filter here. This is a regulator down here. This is filter regulator assembly for the drip. This will be the last piece that I screw in. After I get all this built in the bed out here, then I will screw this piece in. That'll be the last part to go in. Some of the other stuff here I've already got ready. The little gray, these little gray PVC nipples here that I'm using to attach this. I've already got Teflon tape and got them screwed into the valves. The same on this one down here. I've already got Teflon tape and it's already screwed into that valve. I got a reducer bushing here. Now this piece, this is what we call a T. Two sides of this T are slip joint fittings. We have to glue those. This side of the T is threaded. It's 1 inch, so I got to put a reducer that threads in. It reduces from 1 inch to 3/4 inch, as I'm using 3/4 inch valves. So I got to put some Teflon tape on this, and I'm going to go ahead and screw this reducer onto here. At the top, I bought an elbow that the elbow itself reduces from a 1 inch slip fitting to a 3/4 inch threaded fitting, so I don't have to have the reducer. And you can get tees that go from 1 inch to 3/4 threaded. I could have got a tee that this would have threaded straight into, but I decided to go with a reducer because this was originally had a little different setup. Everything was 1 inch on it, and I decided to go with a reducer. So if I want to go back to something that's more similar to what's already out there, I can go back to a 1 inch on this. Either way, it works okay. So I'm gonna put some Teflon tape on here and go ahead and thread this reducer bushing on. I won't thread it into this till I get this stuff glued in out there. So let me grab my Teflon tape that I've got sitting on the cart over here. Now this stuff here, this is Teflon tape or thread seal tape. You hear it called thread seal tape as well. It's real thin Teflon material, and what it does, you put it on threads, and you can use this on all different kinds of pipe thread fittings, PVC, galvanized, all different kinds of stuff. It kind of fills in the gaps. If something's not quite exactly perfect about these threads, the Teflon tape or thread seal tape sort of fills in the gaps when you tighten this up and keeps it from dripping. Out here in our raised beds, with what we're using this for, if this drips a little bit, I'm not terribly concerned with that. But I'm still going to put Teflon tape. If you have too many leaks, too many drips, you can start losing pressure because of the leaks, and that can cause problems. In just a second, I'll show you another reason I'm using it. You got to put this Teflon tape on correctly, or when you go to thread your fitting or screw your fitting in, it'll back off. Teflon tape will unwind. The fittings, these are right-hand threads, so you turn them to the right to tighten them up. And you got to wrap the Teflon tape to the left to make it work right. So I'm going to get my Teflon tape started. I got to hold it with one finger. Get wrapped around here. There's one wrap, 2 wraps, 3 wraps, about 4 wraps on there, and that should be good. That should work for me. I'm gonna wrap some. I gotta wrap it on to my fitting in my valve, the gray nipple that I already got threaded into the valve. I wrap it on that. Same thing, I gotta hold it, I gotta wrap it around to the left, wrap it opposite, like you go in the opposite direction. Go around this way, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll put this bushing on here, tighten it up. I got a couple pairs of pliers. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down right now. I'm going to kind of snug it up. I could probably do this with, I'm going to hold my little gray fitting here. I'm going to put my pliers right in the center of that fitting where there's no threads and hold on to it. I'm going to take my other set of pliers and grab a hold of this bushing, and I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. I'm not going to tighten it a bunch right now. And I'll show you why I'm not tightening everything up a bunch right now. When I screw this in, when I go to put this in, once I get everything put up out there in the bed, when I screw this in, I want this valve to be sticking straight up like this, where it's easy to get to. I don't want the valve turned at an odd angle that way or upside down or something. So I'm not tightening these up completely so I've got some room to adjust everything. That's the other reason for the Teflon tape, is again, where I'm using this out there, if it drips a little bit at some of these fittings, that's not a real huge deal, because it's going in the bed out there. We're trying to irrigate, we're trying to water the plants, so that's what we want to get wet anyway, is the dirt around this where the plants are growing. So if it drips a little bit, that's not a huge deal. But the Teflon tape helps me to be able to adjust these where I want them. So if I tighten this thing down and it ends up somewhere over here like this where I don't want it, and I can't tighten it any further without worrying about breaking something, if I back it up, loosen it up a little bit so that it sets the direction I want it without the Teflon tape on there, it's likely to leak. And I may have a bunch of leaks on it without the Teflon tape. So although I'm not concerned about a little drip here and there, I don't want everything on here leaking all over the place because of the pressure. So the Teflon tape kind of helps me adjust everything the way I want it, get the valve set in the direction I want them, but at the same time, it'll seal threads up better. Okay, so I'm going to take this back out. Set this stuff, that's the piece I'm going to use. I'm going to set these pieces to the side. They got Teflon tape on all the threads. This is ready to thread in. I'm not going to put the Teflon tape on this quite yet. I'll wait till I get ready to put it in. I'm going to set these to the side. My next step is I got to cut some pieces. I'm not going to use this. This is thin wall PVC pipe that I had some short, some little odd pieces sitting around here, and I used it to kind of make a sort of a model to figure out exactly how I wanted to cut everything, what length I wanted to cut everything. So I used this pipe first, and then I'll use these pieces, because these pieces are the length I want them. I'll use these pieces to measure, and I'll cut. I've got some thicker wall, what we call Schedule 40, thicker PVC pipe that I'll actually cut to make these parts. I'm using the thicker stuff because it doesn't break as easily. This thin stuff that I'm using is kind of a pattern, so to speak. If I use that on this, it would work. It would hold the water pressure. It would work fine, but I don't want to use it because it's thinner, and the way this is going to be sticking up out there, this thin stuff would break easier than the thicker stuff. So I'm going to use the thicker stuff on it. I'm going to take this apart. But first I'm going to make a couple of quick marks. I want to see how far I got this together here. That was sticking in about all the way, so I'm going to cut some of the heavier pipe. I'm going to cut it to the same length as I got this.